Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all safe and well. Now on today's episode I've got another 5 jazz albums for you, and I'm hoping at least one of them will tickle your fancy, to use an English idiom or expression. And I'm going to leave links down below for a selected track from the album that I'm going to be showing you. I'd like you to listen to the album in its entirety in your own time on whatever streaming service stroke YouTube you're going to use. It will give you a better idea as to why I say the things that I say if you listen to it in its entirety. But I'm going to leave at least one track for you to listen to from each album as a taster. See what you think, see if it's good enough for you to listen to the whole thing, and if you do, you might agree with me that it's an album worthy of your own collection, but that's ultimately your choice. But it's good to see you guys. I've been on holiday, and I went on holiday before I uploaded the last video, so there's lots of comments which I haven't responded to as of yet, because I was away and I've only just got back type thing. So yeah, so I will get to that at some point. So yeah, it's just nice to be back and nice to talk about jazz again. And oh yeah, I'm just going to say I might go on hiatus for a while, and the reason is another hiatus where I'm not putting out any content, and that might be to do with I am struggling to buy jazz that I actually want in my collection. I'm just one of those people. I've got sufficient amounts of vinyl that I don't feel the need just to fill my shelf. I don't want to be that type of person, and I never have been. I only buy what I like and what I want in my collection, and I'm not really a type of person, again, who buys an album on the off chance and I'm not certain about if I really like it or not. I won't buy the album until I know that I like it sufficiently for me to purchase. Anyway, it's a roundabout way of saying things. I don't exchange albums. I won't buy it and then 3 weeks later I'll take it back to the shop and say, oh, can I swap it out, trade it for something else? I don't really do that. If you are the type of person who does it, good for you. It's like I've got no judgment on it. It's just a case of I just can't be bothered to do that. I'd rather, on the initial side of things, make sure that I like it and I'm fully aware of what I am buying and why I'm buying it. So there you go. So the hiatus might happen, and that's only to do with there's just not enough jazz out there. Jazz that I want anyway in my collection. And yeah, so there might be gaps going forward, but of course I'm still going to be buying. It might be other genres. So part of the issue is when I do other genres, let's say a Brazilian or something else, the viewer numbers just absolutely plummet. It just like it's hardly worth doing. But I might just do them just out of just for history, just to have it there that there's someone out there on the internet who did talk about this album or this genre. So yeah, let's just see how it goes. But fair warning, I just wanted to do that. So before we start me showing you the 5 jazz albums I've got for you on today's episode, we're going to do a bit of housekeeping, and I'm going to go through I find it quite enjoyable going through some of the analytics with you. So we're going to quickly do that for a couple of moments, and then we'll move on to the main crux of the matter. So top 10 countries for viewers over the last 3 months. So in first and second place, as you will, you can guess, would be USA first, UK second, Australia third, Canada fourth, France fifth, Italy sixth. I love that, Italy, thank you. Belgium in 7th place. Belgium's quite consistent, and thank you to the people of Belgium. Really, I do appreciate you hopping on the channel and viewing some of my content. That's really nice of you. 8th would be Netherlands. Again, another consistent one. They're always up there. In ninth place is the one what really kind of like through me kind of thing. Ukraine. I'm going to stay out of the politics of it. I'm a humanitarian first and foremost. So the sooner that situation can come to a resolution and no one else is losing their lives, the better as far as I'm concerned. But I'm not going to go into the politics of it. You guys have got a lot on your plate, so to watch any of my content, I am extremely appreciative. So thank you for that. It does mean a lot to me. As I said, you guys have got a lot on your plate, and I'm hoping that you can resolve it sooner rather than later. In 10th place, we have Germany. Again, thank you to the people of Germany for tuning into my content. Really do appreciate that. So in terms of the demographic, in terms of male to female over the last 3 months, it's 100% male. Obviously, whatever I'm doing, maybe it's the genre of music. If I chose something, which was more, I don't know, dance based or something, it would be, the percentage would be slightly different. But yeah, maybe it's something about me, maybe it's something about the genre, but 100% male over the last 3 months. Not a lady to be seen in the house. What can you say? Ladies, if you happen to be on somebody else's account, and you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. Yeah, so I'm not excluding ladies. I'm really not. So if you are out there and you are watching my content and you find it there's some entertainment and it's informative in some way, shape or form, please consider subscribing to the channel so the stats look a bit more respectable. But there you go. But I'll have to concede, maybe it's a combination of me, my choice in t-shirts, the genre itself might not be appealing to the ladies. What can I say? Yeah, so that made me laugh. Age ranges, in first place, the 55 to 64-year-olds. Second is the 45 to the 54-year-olds. Third would be the 65 plus. And here's the surprising one. In fourth place is the 18 to 24-year-olds. Thank you very much. I'm slightly staggered by that, in terms of, I'm trying to think far back to when I was in that age group. And yeah, I'm touched that you guys have managed to find time in your day to watch some of my content. I am appreciative. I know my format of doing videos may not be to young person's taste, in terms of, yeah, they're quite long videos, but I only do one a month, so come on, give me a break, you know what I mean? If I was doing hour-long videos all the time, perhaps, but thank you for, watching my content. I appreciate it. And fifth place is the 35 to 44-year-olds. So there you go. Couple of other things. Yeah, as I think I mentioned, I was on holiday, so I didn't get to respond to a lot of the comments which were left for me in terms of the last video. It seems that I don't think it's controversial in any way, shape or form, but my position that the Blue Note label is, it's not for me in its entirety. There's parts of it that I like, of course. It's got some seminal pieces on there, but in terms of do I like the whole thing, which, everything what comes out of Blue Note, well, the answer is no. If I was to think of a percentage off the top of my head, it would be probably no more than 20% of the catalogue that I actually like. I don't collect jazz just for the sake of collecting jazz, and I buy individual albums from individual artists. That's what I do. I like what I like. I might happen to like 3 or 4 of your albums and I'll have them. But I'm not just going to buy albums just to have the complete discography of any particular artist. And I will keep saying that I'm just not that type of person. I don't care enough if if something doesn't vibe with me, if I don't feel a connection to a particular piece of music stroke album, I just won't buy it. I find a lot of the Blue Note stuff, I think of it in a literature sense. I think of it like, all right, here's an example. Dickens is a big name in English literature, and yeah, loads of his work has been adapted for TV and films and all that kind of stuff, and he has some great works in there. But if you actually read the books themselves, the original texts of them, he's of a generation where lots of the material, the way in which he was writing, because that was his way of making a living, he would just draw things out, and it's like, oh, come on, get to the point. If you're reading it, it's like, come on, get to the point, man. It's like, we've been doing 7 chapters about something, and it's kind of like you still haven't got a resolution because you're leaving me with cliffhangers, because I'm reading it in its total version, but probably when you released it originally, it was probably in more vignette style. So they were for magazines and that sort of thing. So you had to leave cliffhangers, and you had a specific word length. So there's he's got to keep it going, because if you kind of bring a resolution to certain characters and whatever, it's like, well, that's the end of the story. What am I going to do next? How am I going to pay, how am I going to pay my rent, mortgage? How am I going to feed my kids, sort of thing? So I'm just going to drag this out. You can't blame the person. I find a lot of jazz from the 50s and 60s, it's that kind of thing where they were experimenting. I don't even think the artist will go, oh, I deliberately meant to put this album out. No, they were probably just doing their thing. It was being recorded. They weren't bothered one way or another, type thing, and it got released sometimes later. You know what I mean? That's how my perception of how things were going at that time in jazz. So I don't have to like any of that stuff. I don't have to. If the artist may have felt it was like, this is just what I'm doing at this kind of stage, I'm not going to like jump through hoops and go, oh, this is amazing, when it isn't. That's just the way I am. So that's a roundabout way of explaining about how I feel about Blue Note. But that's not to say I don't have quite a bit of it, because I do. I do, because it's got a lot of really exciting, engaging material on that label. It's just that I'm not overly keen about it. I'm not going to overblow it. And it's a totality. That's just me anyway. Yes, the other thing I wanted to say is, just in case you don't know, I've got an Instagram account, and I've had one for a couple of months now. So it's not, it's a modest little, thing. So information about the Instagram and how to see my account, you'll see in the banner above. It'd be somewhere. I think it's in the banner above, where my name is, on the home page. So you'll be able to go and see my account. Of course, you can leave comments there on albums that I was listening to at that stage, and I've put a picture and maybe some kind of note about. So there's an Instagram account. So the reason for telling you that is, yes, come and join my Instagram account, have a look at it. But the reason for telling you is, if you are an up and coming jazz artiste, group or ensemble, and you kind of see my content and you don't mind me having a look at what you're doing, sort of thing, that would be the way in which you will contact me. So yeah, anybody who's new or just wants to get themselves out there and perhaps hopes that I can help them in some way, shape or form, contact me via Instagram. I'll be happy to look into it, review what you're doing. But I'm going to be honest with you, no holds barred. I'm just going to treat you just like anybody else. It's kind of, I either like what you're doing or don't like what you're doing. That's it, kind of thing. So if you're happy with that, I am happy to get into a collab relationship with you guys. Yeah, because I'm always on the lookout for new and interesting jazz vinyl formats, my preferred, but I'll listen to it on any format and deal with it from there, type thing. Particularly if you're from the Scandinavian region, I've got a soft spot for you guys. So if you want to get in touch with me, if you've got some new material, like me to have a listen to it, get in touch with me via my Instagram account. And again, it's above, I believe it's Sakusan Jazz is the Instagram account name. So yeah, have a look at it, join me, it's a bit of fun. Anyway, I think that's enough of the housekeeping. Thank you for your patience. Let's get on with the first album today, but let me have a slurp of my coffee first. So the first album today is a 1981 original release. It's by a jazz drummer by the name of Billy Higgins, and the album's entitled The Soldier. There you go. Do I like the cover? I'm kind of like, yeah, that was kind of like a wasted opportunity type thing. Let me show you the reverse. So, got this album a number of months ago, and let's just, it's post-bop album. That will be the subcategory of jazz that it's put under. Oh, I should just tell you who's on this album with him. So it's Billy Higgins, Cedar Walton on piano, always fantastic. Monty Waters on sax, Walter Booker on bass, and Roberta Davis on vocals. So first of all, this album is an absolute bargain at this moment in time. You can, if you are interested, I'm going to leave a link down so you can hear it for yourself. For what the album is, the price in which you can pick up this album for at this current moment in time on this particular pressing it is just unbelievable. Excuse me. Yeah, it's my journey with this album. Oh, I shouldn't drink my coffee that fast. Yes, this is a really nice journey in jazz. There is a lot of honesty on this particular album. I would say it's a middling album. I'm not saying it's at the stratosphere of all jazz, and it's certainly not the worst by any stretch of the imagination. It's a good quality, honest jazz album, and I think for most people, you're going to find it a really pleasant experience. Now, for me, there was, of the 6 tracks, there was maybe 2 that I didn't really resonate with, but the other 4, I really got into it. I thought, yeah, this is something that I want to own, particularly at the price that I paid for it. So yeah, I think this is a slightly underrated album. It doesn't, it's kind of like, it doesn't deserve too much praise, but it shouldn't be criticized either. So if you don't have this album in your collection, don't worry about it, or you've never heard of it before, just give it a listen, see if it works for you. The track that I really bought this album for, and I can concede that if this track wasn't on there, I probably wouldn't have bought it, is the Sugar and Spice, which has the Roberta Davis vocals on it. Absolutely astonishing. Love that tune, love it. And yeah, it's what can I say? I really enjoyed it, and glad to have it in my collection. yeah, you'll be able to pick this one up if you really, once you've heard it, and if you decide that it's something that you want in your collection, you should be able to get this relatively easily, and you should get it for a really good price. So have a look out for it in your territory, see what you think, but certainly give it a listen first. But yeah, that's the first one today, and that's Billy Higgins, the jazz drummer, and the album The Soldier from 1981. Yeah, good bit of it's contemporary jazz because of the era in which it came out, but in terms of what it actually sounds like, it's more of an older sound. It's more of that kind of late 60s post bop sound, 60s, yeah, into early 70s type sound. So yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I did, and if you do choose to pull the trigger, really good price for it at this moment in time. So that's the first one. The second one today is on the Steeplechase label, 1987 release by a jazz pianist by the name of Joe Bonner, and the album's entitled The Lost Melody. There you go. Let me show you the reverse side of it. Da-da-da-da. Yeah, so Joe Bonner fascinates me. I became aware of him on the Teresa label, and his association with Farrah Sanders. Yeah, so I enjoy his piano work. I do like John Hicks more, though, I gotta say. If it was like you had a concert by him and John Hicks on the same evening, which one would you go to? And you've only got time to go to one. I'm going to John Hicks's one. But Joe Bonner, I really do like his piano work. There's a delicacy about it. There's a yeah. So if you're into jazz piano, this one might just be up your street. It's considered, I think it's wrong, but Discogs has got it down as hard bop. I would go for more, for the parts that I like of this album, I would say it's more modal type jazz more than anything. So it is a 6-track album. I'm just trying to think of how many tracks. I think I'd like at least 50% of it easily. In terms of getting, yeah, I should tell you who else is on there. Bob Rockwell on tenor sax, Jesper Lundgaard on bass, and Jukis Jultila on drums. Yeah. Again, this is part of my contrarianness and not following the herd. I don't see anybody else on YouTube in the jazz vinyl sphere talking about this album. Again, I'm not going to overpraise it. Again, a middling kind of like B kind of level, mid-level kind of. No, it's not. If it's a B, it's not mid-level. That would be more of a C type thing. It's above average jazz album. There's no doubts about that, and well worth a listen. So I'm going to leave a link down below so you can hear some of it for yourself. You may choose to listen to the rest of the album, which I suggest you do. Getting hold of this one. So I think I got this. I think I got it off of Amazon. And the reason for that was, yeah, I don't know, it may have been in a lot of retailers at some stage, but like I said, I had a slight obsession with Joe Bonner for a period, and wanted to discover more and more of his material to see if the work that he done with Farrah Sanders translated into his own work as well. If he, was it because he was hanging with Farrah what made him good to my ears, or is he good full stop? He is very good full stop. So if you like your piano jazz, if you like on the melodic side, kind of towards the more modal side of things, and certainly that's the elements that I connected with on this particular album. I think you're in for a treat. I think you're going to like it. If you like it, would I say if you like ECM, would you like this? Maybe, maybe that's it just occurred to me just then. Yeah, it might be the case if you are familiar with the ECM label and you like that kind of sound. This might be in a similar enough or adjacent to that you might want to consider this one as it's part of your collection. But have a listen to it first, see what you think. I think this was relatively expensive because you just couldn't find it anywhere. It's I'm not saying it's a rare album, I'm sure it's not, but it depends on what territory you're in, and if you want a brand new factory sealed copy, or you don't mind a second-hand one. So it would depend on you as a collector, what you want, and what territory you're in. But I certainly enjoyed my journey with this particular album, and off the top of my head, I think it was decent money for it. I know it wasn't cheap, because that would be in my mind if I knew I got one on the retailer. That's not the case here. I definitely did pay for it in terms of standard jazz album prices for things. So, but I really want you to have a listen, see what you think, and you can take it from there. So that's the second album today, Joe Bonner, The Lost Melody, 1987, Steeplechase Records. There you go. The next one today, I'm rolling back the years with this one, and I've had this album for ages and just kind of, for whatever reason, just kind of rediscovered it on my shelves type thing. Anyone who's got sufficient amount of vinyl will testify to that same thing of, you've got something in your collection and you bought it for a reason, but you just can't remember what the album sounded like. So it's always good to revisit stuff that you have on your shelves as part of your collection, because it's just good, because otherwise what was the point in buying it in the first place type thing. So this is I can see when it was released on this label. I think it comes originally, it's 1964. This is on the Gearbox record label, and it's the jazz saxophonist Tubby Hayes Quintet, and the album's entitled Modes and Blues. There you go. So this would normally be for me a slightly too early jazz album, so it's kind of late 50s into the 60s. Some of it I like, some of it I don't, or it's more a case of I've got sufficient amounts of it that I don't want any more of it type thing. I kind of got that era pinned down in my head, and in terms of what I got on my shelves, I kind of got that era sorted out, and I don't really want any more unless it's truly special. Now this is special. Let me show you the reverse side as well. There you go. So Tubby Hayes, it's got that sound of the era. It's a nice throwback, and there are moments of absolute sincerity, let's put it that way, and just a level of, is it refinement? I don't want to blow it, get too elaborate with how I'm going to describe this album, but in terms of as an experience, this is a wholly enjoyable one. And if you're into jazz already and you don't have this one, I would say probably get your hands on it. It's a very good example of UK jazz of that era. I'm not going to try and say it's the best jazz album of all time, but it's up there. It really is, and it's kind of under the radar good. It's not obvious. You kind of have to listen to it a few times, and then you go, oh man, that's what they were trying to do. It's like that composition was unbelievable. I found myself doing that, and it was a really enjoyable experience. The vinyl itself, which I have to like make note of, is fantastic on this album. If you can get like a factory sealed copy, you're in for a treat in terms of it's really nice vinyl pressing, really well recorded. Yeah, I just, if all jazz albums were of this level of like recording and pressing, you'd never hear a complaint out of me ever. But yeah, in and of itself, a nice journey in jazz, something slightly different to the norm. And yeah, Tubby Hayes has got a whole plethora of albums out there. I've got two or three, and I think that's enough for me. But yeah, I enjoyed this thoroughly. I'm going to leave a link down below so you can hear it for yourself. Any other observations I can think of about it? No, it's just good. Good bit of fun. Good bit in London Town, 1964. Oh, if you've never been to Ronnie Scott's, you might want to do that. If particularly this is for the American and European audience. If you've never been, I think you should experience it. It's a landmark. It's a thing. It's if you're interested in jazz at all, well, more than interested. If you've got a passion for jazz and you've done the tours of, you know, the Blue Note, you've been to the Village Vanguard, you've physically been to these places, Ronnie Scott's, when you come to London, is certainly something that you should check out. You really should. So there you go. That's the third album today. The fourth album today is, you know, when I'm doing these videos, I deliberately set out to throw, you know, put one in there which I don't think you would have heard of. I'm talking about the majority of the audience who are watching this video. I have a strong suspicion that you probably wouldn't have heard of it. If you've been around the channel, you know already that I've got a soft spot for European jazz. I like to hear something different. I like to hear jazz with different seasoning, a different perspective on it. So it's not going to be for everybody, this particular album, but I'm just going to show you that it exists, and I'm going to leave us, you know, a link for you to hear one of the tracks for yourselves, and then you can make your own judgment from there. So it's on the Polish Jazz record label, originally released in 1975. I will put it under the contemporary stroke jazz more contemporary jazz, but there are some jazz fusion elements in there. Now, I can't pronounce the person's name, the band leader. I just can't do it. It's too much of a tongue twister. But the Bandits, the album itself is called Complot of Six, and it's on the Polish Jazz label. Let me show you that. So I had to look up what complot meant, because what I thought it meant on the surface level is, well, you might be able to deduce it. It's basically kind of like, in English, it would be like a conspiracy of six, kind of, that will be. But yeah, I might have to file the term complot in my head for some time, and when I can kind of like, well, when I'm in the mood for bamboozling people and using words that they're not used to, kind of thing, I might just throw that one out just to see what the reaction is. But yeah, complot of six stroke, kind of like, in other words, the conspiracy of six kind of thing. So yeah, hopefully I showed you the reverse cover. As I said, 1975 release. Now, because of my kind of interest in European jazz, and I've got a lot of time for Polish jazz, I've got quite a bit of it, I tend to trawl through whoever I come to be aware of has the Polish jazz label items in their catalogue. I tend to trawl through their catalogue to see, you know, even if they don't have, if they've got it listed, I try and find it on YouTube or one of the streaming services to have a listen to the album itself and see if I've missed out on anything. I had to have this album once I heard it, and well, not I had heard this. Okay, so if I remember rightly, purchasing this album has maybe been 18 months in the making in terms of when I initially heard parts of this album and actually purchasing it. A, that was to do with availability. B, I kind of had to tune myself into what was going on this particular album. And I'm not saying it's not in the avant-garde type thing. That's not what's going on. But as I said, it's the flavoring, it's the seasoning of the jazz, it's the different perspective that I had to kind of tune my ear into. Excuse me. And it's been a wholly rewarding experience. Of the so it's actually a 4-track album. The side A is more of like a medley broken up into, yeah, so it's 1 track but broken up into 3 parts, and on the B side it's 3 separate tracks. This one you kind of have to work at it. It's not going to just lay it out for you. You've kind of got to be committed to listening to it. So if you do happen to listen to this album, I would suggest don't have any other distractions going on. It might even be better to, don't even listen to it through speakers. Put headphones on, totally immerse yourself in what's going on. Now you might decide, even with this advice and you listen to it, oh, that guy Lewis is talking absolute garbage, it was absolutely horrible. Fine. I'm just saying this thing exists and I've got it because I like it, type of thing. But I found this a really rewarding experience once you kind of tune yourself into what's going on. So it's a really good example of Polish jazz. Those who participated should be proud of themselves. I'm really happy to have this in my collection. Now I think I got this from Amazon. I had to import it. So if you consider those 2 elements, you're getting it from Amazon, B, you're importing it. It not only took time for it to come into my possession, but it was expensive for it. Not mad kind of Japanese jazz level of pricing for it, but it was expensive. So you have to decide whether or not that's going to work for you. Certainly worked for me, and in terms of my collection and where I know it's going to fit in, absolutely perfect. No regrets. No, this is a keeper. But then again, I don't buy anything that I don't really want, so I don't. Anyway, so have a listen to it, see what you think. This might open up you might have been that type of person that, particularly if you're in the US territory, North America territory, you might have gone to yourself, well, you know what, I've got all this, I'm looking for something else in my jazz, you know what I mean? I've got everything I could possibly think of from, all the major names, all the major labels. I've got all that. What else do what I still love jazz. What's the new frontier? What's the next thing? This might be a direction that you might want to pursue based on hearing this album, or you may not. That'll be your decision. But I certainly wanted it because I like the variation. I want multiple jazz sounds in my collection and not just one. But if you just want one, that's fine. Please, that's up to you. So really enjoyable experience from my point of view. You may disagree with me. I don't believe for 1 second this is for everybody. So I expect probably in the comment section, oh, I gave that a listen and it was absolutely horrible. Hey, I can understand that. I can understand it. I don't agree with you, but I can understand your perspective, and it's based on your particular taste, what you're looking for in jazz, and we'll leave at that type of thing. So Complot of Six, can't pronounce the actual lead guy's name because it's just there's just too many consonants in there for me to even give it a. And yeah, I just, yeah, the inflections and that I just can't even. Spezek Sezescu. I'm not going to try that again, but I think that's the person's name. I'm not even going to. Yeah, that's the best I can do. Yeah, I'm going to leave a link down below so you can hear it for yourself. See what you think. So the last one today. I think that quite a few of you out there would have purchased this one already. So this is, I'm trying to see when it was originally released. Let's see if I can see that. Ooh, it might be 1977. It took me so long to try and decipher. 1977 is the original year of release, I believe. It's by the jazz bassist Henry Franklin, and the album's entitled Tribal Dance. Love that cover. Love it. I modeled myself on that particular cover. And that's the interior for you to have a look at, and that's the reverse. I love that image, even maybe even more than I like the it's debatable. Mr. Henry Franklin. Now most of you will be aware of his work via the Black Jazz label. So it's the Skipper and these, I think it's the Skipper Returns, I think those are the two. And I deliberated for so long about those two albums and whether or not I should purchase them for my collection, and I declined basically. Part of it was to do with when all that Black Jazz label content was being released. I think too much of it came out in one go, so I kind of got sidetracked with things. I got overwhelmed with the content coming out of that label, and I kind of feel like I've got enough of it. Again, I'm not a completionist, so I'm not going to buy items from a record label just because it's on that record label. You know, I cherry pick what I want. Again, I keep reiterating it because that's just how I do things. You might be different. You might be the type of person, it's like, oh, Black Jazz, they got all these albums out, I'm gonna get them all. Fine. It's absolutely fine. Now as I said, the Skipper and this Skipper Returns, I think it's, yeah, they had elements of, on those albums when I listened to them thoroughly and repeatedly, they had elements which I really did like, but for whatever reason they didn't touch me in a way where I'm going to pull that trigger and buy them because I want them in my collection. I was interested, you know, I had heard enough on those albums to know that I like Mr. Franklin and what he does. There was more than enough on those albums, but in terms of those albums, I just didn't want to buy them for whatever reason. I might change my mind in years to come for whatever, you know, I might change it by that. But at this moment in time, I just didn't want them. And even now, I think of my reactions to those albums and I think to myself, oh, really? That's just, you know, one track off an album at that price. Do I really want it that badly? No, not really. Anyway, so on this one, you can kind of, like, it's in the category of soul jazz. I don't think that does justice to it. Let's just say it's just kind of contemporary jazz, and it's of that, so it's not of the kind of conscious spiritual jazz side of thing. It's not that. So soul jazz might be a really apt moniker for it, although I for whatever reason it's not a moniker that soul jazz that I kind of use. I don't, but yeah, think of this as more contemporary soul, yeah, soulful jazz. There you go, soul jazz, soulful jazz. Yeah. So yeah, it's of the, let's see how many, 6-track album. It is a bit patchy, even this one, but particularly on side B, when it does get it right, I really did enjoy the experience. I mean, I was blown away with particularly side B on this album, and I'll leave a link down below for one of the tracks that really touched me, and you can see for yourself if you like it. I don't think this one has sold as well to the general public as the ones on Black Jazz, and that's nothing to do with the consistency. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the actual compositions themselves. I think what Mr. Franklin basically is, what I've seen of his catalogue, is he is patchy. So you would have some highlight on any album that he does. You'll have 2 tracks minimum which are really good, and then you got to decide if you can live with the rest. So this is no different. It's just that I liked the 2 tracks off this album, maybe 2-3 tracks off this album, much more than I did from the Skipper or any of his other work that I might have heard. So yeah, it's down to individual preferences. This is beautiful. This particular pressing of it is really nice. Yeah, clean vinyl, lovely and clear. Like a, yeah. As soon as I heard it, it's just like, oh my gosh, gotta have that. So yeah, really nice journey, but you have to bear in mind that it is patchy. You won't probably like all of this album. Just the way it goes. That's within his wheelhouse, that you probably won't like everything on it. But yeah, it touched me in the right place, and it's kind of like, I'm gonna have that. I want you to be already in your collection. Right, we're back again. Yeah, so yeah, I've been chatting for too long. So there's going to be a hard cut in there somewhere. So give this one a listen, see what you think, see if you agree with me that this is consistent with his discography in terms of 2 tracks per album type thing, and you just basically have to cherry, see which album that you like the most. Well worth a listen. Whether or not you want this in your collection, you'll have to make that decision. I'm certainly glad to have it in mind. It works for me. I know exactly what I signed up for. So yeah, that's the last one. Mr. Henry Franklin. Let's see who else is on there. Charles Owen on sax, Jerry Rush on trumpet, Al Hall Jr. on trombone, Kenneth Climax on guitar, Sonship on drums, and Dwight Dickinson on piano. Yeah, there you go. Have a listen, see what you think. So that was the last album for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me please remind you before signing off officially, don't forget to, well, if you've found this video slightly informative, slightly amusing, please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below. I really would appreciate that. And just to remind you again, I do have an Instagram page, a very modest one, Saku-san Jazz, I believe it's called, but in the title, on the homepage, in the title bar above, you will see a link to that. So yeah, join me on that format. If you want to have like conversations with me, that might be the better place to do it. I'm more likely, yeah, I just think it'd be a better format if you wanted to speak to me about something or whatever. Yeah. So thank you once again for joining me for one of my videos and listening to my ramblings about things. Hopefully of these 5 jazz albums I've shown you today, I'm hoping at least one of them might tickle your fancy. If none of them do, I'm just happy that I've made you aware that these things exist. Yeah, by all means, give these albums a listen, see what you think, see if they fit in your collection. I'm not saying that it's going to work for you. I'm just saying that they work for me, hence why I've bought them. But yeah, it's more important about what you think and your own decision making. So until the next episode, please look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will see you soon for another jazz video, jazz bass video. It might be on another genre, you never know. I might just take that chance and just go, oh, okay, I'm just going to do it. Even if only me and 3 other people appreciate it, I might just do it. So yeah, please look after yourselves, stay safe. I will see you for another video soon, so take care.